went downstairs to get me a cold pop. That little video never gets old. I love it. Lord Jesus is the fire. Y'all, last time we talked, I had mentioned, I shouldn't say mentioned, I actually went on a long reflection about my family visit. If you remember that, it was just a long video about sadness and impending death and parents getting older and not being able to move and think and remember things like they used to, and that inevitably that fate awaits us all in some form or fashion. I mean, all of our families are plagued by something that's going to get us when we get older. If we're lucky, we die peacefully in our sleep. Many of us won't get that. Many of us will pass away in some other way, perhaps tragically. However, I promised at the end of that video that we would talk about happy things in the next video. And here we are. Hey, how y'all doing? Thanks for joining me today. I am sitting at the airport. I cannot believe that these parking lots are full. There are 2 parking lots, and I'm not talking about the satellite economy parking lots. I'm talking about the parking lots right here up next to the airport. Each of them have 4 stories, and they're full for the most part. You know, it tells you when you come in, there's a sign that tells you north garage, south garage, and the floors and the number of slots, parking slots that are available. And do we call them slots? Spots? Parking spots. Where did I get slots from? They were full, all of them, except for like the north garage. It had some slots at the top, spots at the top. And I'm like, where's everybody going? It is 8:30 on a Monday morning. How in the world is the parking lot full? I have never seen an airport parking lot full. I've seen it jammed. I've seen it crowded, but never full. That was wild. And I'm like, aren't people coming in? This is an airport. Aren't planes landing? And aren't people getting off and getting to their cars? And shouldn't some of the spots be opening up? So anyway, I found a spot at the very end of a row, and I'm sitting here. I'm very early for my flight. I should go into the airport, pull out my computer, and get some work done. But I'm being lazy at the moment and just enjoying sitting here. So I wanted to share good things. This is a video about happy good things. I was reflecting after that last video and thinking, noting and knowing the fate that awaits us all. What would it be like to reflect on a life well led? What would it mean to think about, and how would we think about whether we've had a good life or not? Like, what are the criteria to determine that you've had a good life? What are the indicators that you've lived well? I don't know the answers to those questions, but the thing that came up for me immediately was, what if I did a top 100 moments in life list? Like, where I looked at the experiences that I have had over my life so far. I am hoping to live much longer, as we talked about, but we never know what's going to happen. And I'm turning 50 in January, and just, oh my God, wait a minute. 3 months from now, I will be 50 years old. What if, in celebration of a half century of living, I picked out 100 reasons that I'm glad to have been alive in this time period and under the circumstances that I was born into? We are all born into different circumstances, families, demographic groups, geographic regions, generational traumas or not. Lord, we can break all of that stuff down. We all had different education paths. We all had different opportunity paths, all of that. Noting where I am at this point in my life, what would my top 100 moments in life look like? Like, reasons that I could look back and go, because of these experiences, I lived a good life. And that's a really fun exercise. So I've started to do that in my mind, and I want to actually like codify those moments in writing and share them with you all. Maybe do like a 2 or 3 part series where I'm sharing out your first 33 and the second 33 and then the next 34. Does that add up to 100? Yes, it does, right? Okay, good. I didn't get far in math, y'all. I got to about trigonometry in high school, and then I was like, screw this. I did not take calculus, and I did not take one course of math in college. We had a pretty freestyle curriculum in college where we could choose our majors and the kinds of courses that made up our majors. And I was not taking math. I hated math, which is sad, which is very sad, especially considering I wanted to be an architect originally. And being an architect would have meant advancing in math and in physics and in a couple of other types of courses. So that didn't happen. But here I am in a job that I love, and so I'm not going to complain about that. I did want to start off by sharing some good news, some good things, and thinking, have I had a good year overall? Noting that it is the middle of October at this point. I'm filming this on October is it the 16th, the 17th, Thursday, October 17th, I am heading to a work event where I'm going to see my colleagues who you all know I just adore. I fangirl over my colleagues. I work with, this is one of the things I'm fortunate for. And I'm grateful for, and I express gratitude for often in my mind, is I really, really love my job. I love the conditions at my job. I love the way I am treated, and I absolutely adore my work family. That is a really important thing to me. I need to respect the people that I work with. I need to like them for the most part. I don't have to like everybody, and I don't have to like everything they do, but I have to have some respect for the way that they show up and conduct their business and the way that we treat each other. And we have a really good work culture in that we treat each other really well, and people who don't treat each other well, they don't do well where we work. You know, it's an expectation that we are kind and courteous to each other and treat each other professionally and all of those things. Some days are harder than others, and some moments are harder than others, but for the most part, that's just sort of general company culture, if you will. So I'm super excited to see it's a leadership meeting. The other leaders, there are going to be about, I don't know, something like 100 of us there, and I can just feel the energy of the meeting. I actually helped plan the meeting. I helped create the agenda. I had a couple of other colleagues that really developed the agenda, and they're going to facilitate the meeting. I'm going to participate in the meeting, but I got to contribute to the agenda and plan the whole thing out. So I'm excited to see everyone and for them to go through all of the activities that we have planned for them. There's going to be a lot of reflection. It's like a strategic planning retreat. And part of the purpose is for us to get to know each other more. How's my hair looking? Why do we ladies play with our hair on screen all the dang time? I got some electric currents flying through my hair. I got some flyaways. I did not curl my hair. I'm going to curl my hair when I get to the airport. I'm not curling my hair at the airport. I'm curling my hair at the hotel when I land. Anyway, I'm super excited to see my colleagues. But in thinking about this work event and that I'm excited to go, even though I was all stressed about packing it, friends, for as much as I have made my packing situation a lot easier and simpler, it still stresses me the heck out. So anyway, what made me think about sharing the highlights of the year so far, or at least some of them, a few that I'm going to mention here, is that I had my annual ladies appointment. Don't we love those? So a couple things. First of all, so if you're a gentleman listening, you may want to skip ahead because I'm going to talk about some lady things. And if you're a lady who squirms about those things or gets uncomfortable, you may also want to skip ahead. I'll try to put a timestamp down below to where you can go if you don't want to hear all this personal talk. And so I had 2 appointments in one, my mammogram and then my general lady exam, if you know what I'm saying. And I was surprised to hear that the recommendation for a pap smear is every 5 years now. I don't know if that's because of my age or if it has changed for everyone. And what I learned from a good friend of mine here, who I actually met through YouTube, hey girl, hey, you know who you are. She mentioned that she learned from her doctor that the reason that there's such a span between pap smear years, the recommendation, is that it takes a very long time for cancers of the cervix to grow. And so it doesn't really make sense to do an exam every year and get like a culture and have that analyzed to see if you have cancer, because the changes from year to year may be unobservable or so slow. And so like every 5 years makes sense. And so that's really interesting because there was a point in my life when it was annual. So that's that. So I was surprised that I didn't get that, a pap smear. I was like, okay, I mean, I'm not going to complain. They still look at you and everything and make sure that everything looks good down there. Everything feels good and looks good down there. And then I had my mammogram, and the mammogram always freaks me out. So I don't have a history of breast cancer in my family, but I do have a history of other kinds of cancers. In fact, a number of my, I said I wasn't going to talk about sad things, but a number of my dad's siblings have been afflicted in recent years by different kinds of cancers. And so, you know, it's on my radar, cancer in general, of course. And so even though I don't have breast cancer, I always still worry about it. And I am 49. I would say about the time that I was maybe 43 or 44-ish, in that range. I don't remember the exact year. When I went for my mammogram, I actually had an abnormal test result. If you have ever had that, it completely freaks you out. First of all, you freak out from the day that you have your mammogram until the day you get your results. At least many people do. Maybe some of y'all are super calm about it. Me, my mind starts to twist and turn like, what if something comes back positive and I have an issue and I need to get, you know, radiation and or chemotherapy or whatever, or, you know, have a mastectomy or something, you know, all those kinds of lady issues. Anyway, where I'm going is, so a number of years ago, I had an abnormal one and they did a biopsy to figure out whether the abnormality, there was a little small lump, was malignant or benign. And I can't tell y'all the freak out I had over that. Oh my God, my son was younger. if I was 43 and I'm 49 now, so that would have been 6 years ago. He was maybe 9 or 10-ish, maybe 8 if it was before that. I don't remember the exact year that I had it. And I remember thinking, he's so young. You know, you think like fatalistically, like what if, and I have to go leave this earth earlier than I thought. You know, no one takes care of a kid like their mama. You know, he has a wonderful father. My husband is a wonderful stepdad to him. He's in more than good hands. I have wonderful sisters and a mother. I have a whole village of wonderful humans that would step up to surround this child with care and love and all of that in my absence. And, you know, so that wasn't an issue, but you're still a mama, and a mom is always a mom, and no one takes care of their babies like their mamas do. And so anyway, my mind went crazy thinking about what if I can't be around and be his mom, you know, through his growing up. See, I told you I wasn't going to cry and get all crazy. So let's talk through this part of the thing really quickly. I freaked out in the days between I got the news and the biopsy. And I think it was maybe 2 weeks out from the call that something was abnormal. And I remember laying on the doctor's table, and she had this really long needle that she was going to insert into my boob to check out this little lump and see what was going on. They had to take like a little piece of it and all that. And I remember thinking to myself, stay strong, stay strong. Don't be a punk, Veronica. Don't punk out and start crying. And as soon as she walked in the room, I was like, ah! I started crying. Oh my God. And she was so sweet and so comforting and all of that. But still, you know, you're laying on the table with a long needle in your boob. Well, they're pulling some tissue out to go check it out. I was freaking the hell out. And then they do this really interesting thing where they put a little teeny tiny, like almost, it's nearly microscopic, but it's not, you can see it, piece of metal where the thing is. So that when you get your future mammograms, they can look at where the spot is and judge it against your future mammograms to see if the thing has grown or not. And so anyway, long story short, the thing came back benign. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, God and Jesus and everything else you believe in the heavens above. I mean, that was like a moment of deep relief at that point in time. Why I'm sharing all of this over information, this too much information, TMI, with all of y'all is because ever since then, every mammogram I have, I'm freaking out. Like, oh my God, has the thing grown? Is there other stuff? Do I have a problem? And I also had one of my very, very, very best friends recently had a diagnosis of an almost like super duper early stage cancer. Her mother had the same thing and went through rigorous treatment that really affected her quality of life. So my friend had elected not to bother with all that. She goes, oh, if I'm prone to that and it's likely that I'm going to develop it, take them, cut them off. And I was like, girl. And it was just such a humbling thing to see this woman who she still is, beautiful woman, super vibrant, was very healthy, very in shape, ran, you know, all of this stuff for no reason other than hereditary reasons was she facing this. And she elected for a double mastectomy and a reconstructive surgery and all of this. And it was just such a thing to watch this person who I had met many years ago. I mean, I've known her for a super long time, go through this thing. And I was like, wow. Y'all, I went off on a tangent. But anyway, she came through with flying colors. She's doing great. Everything's fine. And me, I was thinking about my own results recently and like, am I going to have to go through something similar? You know, your mind just goes crazy. I'm 15 minutes in. I'm 15 minutes into the video. I don't know what it's going to look like, the time marker by the time I edit this. But the long and short of it is, I got my results yesterday and they are normal. The amount of sheer freaking relief I feel about that, I cannot even express. I'm going down all these like tangents and things, rabbit holes. So at the appointment, at my annual ladies appointment, she said to me, she was reviewing all my vitals and my history and all of this other stuff. You know, I had started the hormone replacement therapy and everything at the top of the year, like January of this year, and had gone on a weight management plan as well. And I'd lost a significant amount of weight. I don't know if you could see in my early videos. Well, let me say this, not on this channel, but on the other channel, you could see maybe like even as early as last winter that my face was super puffed up. My cheeks I had like little squirrel cheeks going on. All my tissues were swollen and everything. And you may be able, maybe not able to see, I don't know, in my later videos that I actually have a little indentation on my cheeks, and you could probably see a little bit more sagging skin here and stuff as I have lost weight. And I'm super thrilled about that. So she was noticing I had lost weight, you know, my mammogram came back normal, that my hormones had regulated, and that I was feeling good. And so she said to me, "You're having a really good year." And I was like, that is so nice to hear. At a time in my life when I'm worried about deteriorating, like my physicality, I'm worried about my physical self deteriorating more and more. I had a good year. And I was like, you know what? She is right. Because I have had not good years when it comes to my physical health. Maybe y'all remember me sharing with you that I went through like a whole couple of years with a frozen shoulder situation. I had gained weight. I was having all those hormonal issues and all of this stuff, not sleeping well, blah, blah, blah. And I have since all of that stuff has regulated out. And so all of that to say, I'm having a good year physically. And we're having a good year as a family. Our kids are doing extremely well. I mean, they went through all of their phases. All kids go through all kinds of phases, right? So we have 2 that are in high school that went through some interesting times with, kids experiment with their identity in high school. They do funny things to their hair. They wear funny clothing. They talk in funny ways. They think funny things. And so they've kind of come into their own. The 2 in high school, one's a junior, one's a senior. And it's really neat to see them become who they are. I think it's a Kenyan saying or proverb or something. And it's supposedly that parents whisper into the ears of their babies, become who you are, which I love that. In other words, there is a core you that we all sort of grow into and evolve toward and then from as we age in our lives. And it's neat to see our 2 high school kids becoming who they are, their own interesting little spirits and personalities, the things that they're interested in. We've got one who is super interested in communications and journalism, and she writes her own novels, complete with characters. I mean, like, she might be the next J.K. Rowling. Or is it Rowling? J.K. Rowling or Rowling? Oh my God, the Harry Potter author. She has these fantasy worlds that she creates in her literature that's so fascinating. She's an actress. She stars in some plays at school and whatever. And it's so cool to watch her do her thing. And then our son is a really amazing young pianist. I hate saying pianist because it sounds like I'm saying penis. Pianist. And a general musician all around. He plays both by ear and is formally trained with some super cool teachers that have shared with him the spectrum and joy of music. Everything from classical music to, modern jazz, to the blues, to his own interesting creations. He plays Queen even. Queen is one of my favorite bands. I see a little silhouette of a man, Scaramouche, Scaramouche. Will you do the fandango? Send a bolt of lightning, very, very frightening. Galileo, Galileo, Figaro, Magnifico. So anyway, he's getting really good at music. He's doing sports, and he's finding his own footing, and it's so cool to watch him come of age. They're both coming of age in such a lovely way. Our oldest son is now out in the workforce and really enjoying his job and is feeling like he has found his own little work family there, and doing well. And it's just really neat. My husband is doing great in his career. He's in a position, he does I'm talking about big, mega, multi-million-dollar sales for a company. And the way that his job works, he does well for himself regardless. But if he does even more well, then there are all of these big bonuses that stack up. And he's had a really good year. And so I think just from a man's perspective, winning at work does really great things for boosting your self-confidence and your ego and all of that. And especially when you're in those big kinds of sales. And I'm talking about $30 and $50 million sales at a time. It's a big deal. You win big and you lose big. And it can be really up and down. And for me, the other thing at work, this was a really big moment. And y'all, I have been such a big crybaby these days. Like everything that is remotely emotional makes me cry. I'm like, oh my God, let's talk about it. Let's cry together. Let's hug it out. You may remember from a bunch of previous videos that I was working on a massive proposal for my own job. This was a multi-million-dollar grant, not quite to the extent that my husband works on for his sales or whatever. And this was a grant for some services that we as a company want to do. Anyway, I led the proposal for this. I was the lead writer. And so that means that I come up with a concept, I come up with the winning approach, or what I hope is a winning approach. I, help put the team together that we're bidding on the proposal to do the work and all of that. It's a really big deal. And it took me about 2 months to pull that thing together. And it was a last minute thing. Where I work, we call opportunities that we go after that are maybe a little bit outside of our range, our league, or whatever. We call them moonshots. Meaning we're shooting for the moon and we know the probability of winning is low, and we go for it anyway, because if we win, the rewards are huge. So the thing that I was working on was that kind of thing. It was sort of like a moonshot type of deal. And I was very stressed out about it. In my mind, my reputation was on the line. I don't think anyone else felt that way about it. I think they would have been thrilled with me whether we won or we lost the thing. But in my mind, I felt like my own reputation to produce a strong, high quality proposal was maybe on the line is too strong of a word, but it was like at stake, or I don't know, it was hanging in the balance, something along those lines. Anyway, I worked day and night on this thing, in addition to doing all my other work. Like, I lead a number of projects for my job. I manage big teams of people. I do some pretty complex work, and it's stressful and straining in good ways. I mean, I enjoy it, as I told you, but it's very sort of heavy on the mind and heart, some of the work that I do. And I worked on this proposal on top of all of that, night and day, weekends, stressing myself out. And I felt really responsible for this thing being in as strong shape as it can be when it went in for submission, because there were other companies competing for the same thing. And, you do your best at these things, and then it's up to the review panels to make decisions and compare proposals from different companies. And the results came out and we won. We won. And I couldn't believe it. I got the email and I opened it and I was like, what? I literally said, what? And I started crying. Oh my God, I can't believe this. And the reason that I'm bringing that up is that yesterday we got a summary of the panel reviews, and the proposal scored exceptionally high. And the praise on the proposal was effusive. I don't say that to toot my own horn. I say that to say, one, anything is possible, because I didn't think I was going to do well on this proposal. In fact, when I submitted the proposal for review internally, I was biting my nails waiting for the feedback, because I was like, oh my gosh, they're going to think this is garbage. Maybe this thing is underdeveloped. Maybe I could have done that part of the proposal better. It was like almost like 100-page proposal. It was a big deal. And it came back with high praise internally, and it left, and it came back from the external reviewers who made the grant decision with super duper high praise. And again, it was this moment yesterday where I was reading the summary of results and all of the praise that was like heaped onto this proposal, and the way that the solution was developed, and the team that we put together and bid on the proposal, and the expertise and all of that. And I thought to myself, wow, this is where, like, I'm going to get emotional, but where does the imposter syndrome, when and where does the imposter syndrome go away? At what point? At what point do you get to look yourself in the mirror? Because if you're new to this channel, I have struggled with imposter syndrome for most of my adult life. I've always done super well and gotten really high praise at my roles that I've played at my different jobs. I messed up a little bit along the way when I was super young, but in general, I've had a really great career. When do I get to look myself in the mirror and let the shadow of imposter syndrome melt away? When does it dissipate and stop hanging over my head? Isn't this the moment when you have proven yourself on this really amazing, rigorous moonshot proposal against some really worthy opponents, competitors that put in strong proposals as well, I'm sure, and yours won? Is now the time where it's okay to pat yourself on the back and stop doubting yourself? So you guys, it was just this moment where I had a little chat with myself, and I was like, Veronica, it's time. Like, you're going to be 50. I know that there will always be a little bit of like a remnant, of imposter syndrome somewhere in the back of my mind. Like, what is the term? Phantom limb? It's like a phantom limb that's out there somewhere. But now's the time. You owe it to yourself, you owe it to your colleagues to move past this and stop this crazy doubting of yourself. Live into your full self. Become who you are. Become who you are. And in my case, I am who I am. So why am I doubting who I am? Ooh, y'all, it was like a moment. And so I forwarded the email to my husband, and he was so cute. He responded back, oh my gosh, I want to be like you when I grow up. This is amazing. Just really wanting to celebrate that super special career accomplishment. And more to come. Like now I have the bug and I want to do a lot more of that. And I want my colleagues to also feel, and they do feel that success. They feel that way when they win proposals, because we all are constantly working on proposals in addition to our projects and all of that. And it's such like a rush when you win a proposal that big, especially when you have such formidable opponents. It's like, wow, we did it, you guys. So anyway, I wanted to share those as big wins. I had anticipated doing a lot more with this video, but I think I will leave it at this and maybe actually have a shorter video rather than an hour-long video this time, and just share with you all that I feel like I'm in a really good and great space personally, professionally, family-wise, still struggling through the things that I shared in the last video, and that is life. I believe this one thing. I believe many things, but among the many things I believe is one thing, and that is you can have everything you want, but you can't have it all at once. You can't have it all at once. So at any point in time, it's like your life is like a game of whack-a-mole. There are parts that are really, really great and subdued under the surface, like they're just laying low and doing great. And then there's always something popping up that needs to get whacked down, And so the things happening with my parents and their aging is the things popping up that I and they and we all have to work through and deal with. But there are also all of these other wonderful, fabulous, amazing things to be grateful for and happy about at this point in time. So I'm going to embark on this journey of the 100 moments of my life that I am the most grateful to have lived at this point in time, and use that as a way to celebrate the amazingness that it is to be alive, to be a sentient being on this planet. I don't really care what your religious or spiritual beliefs are, or whether you don't believe in something higher. It's okay either way for me. You be who you are. As for me, I do believe that humans are created in the image and or spirit or something, consciousness of something greater than ourselves. And so for me, that is traditionally rooted in Christian values. But I have great respect for all religions and however they see the same thing, because they all religions on this planet believe in something greater than themselves. And I think we're all talking about the same things. I really do. I really do. Although each religion has its own sort of savior or saint or head spirit or whatever that they believe in the end, we're all talking about probably the same thing. The same thing. And even for those of you that don't believe in something bigger, I assume you wonder where we all came from. Maybe you have resigned yourself to not worrying about it or not thinking about it, or resigned yourself to never knowing and being okay with that. But I do believe that we are all created as an expression or an extension or something of something much greater than us. And so I only bring that up to say that, isn't it in that sense wonderful to be alive, and that we are these bodies that have something greater within us, some energies or something within us. Our heart continues to beat day after day without our intervention, without our involvement. Our cells continue to reproduce and do their job, and all of the things, all of your organs continue to function. And I know we're all in different places with that. Some of us are struggling with medical issues where some of those things are compromised. But generally speaking, as humans, the miracle that it is to be alive in a whole human form, I want to celebrate that more this year, especially as we're coming to the year's end and we're approaching the holiday of gratitude, Thanksgiving, at least in the US. And we are approaching the Christmas season, which is all things merry and bright and cozy and happy and things to be grateful for. I want to stay focused on that more, as I am also, and others around me, are working through the moles that continue to pop up. It's like all part of the package of being alive. The yin and the yang, the good and the bad, the joy and the sorrow, all of those things. I have no idea what the point of this video was, except to share with you all the moment of understanding like the aha moment, the moment of reflection, the moment where it's set in that, yes, I have had, overall, a really good year in comparison to some other years. Own it, enjoy it, and live into the moment. Quiet down the imposter syndrome, quiet down all the worries for a while, and live into the glory of the moment, which is now. With that, I'm gonna go catch this flight and hang out with my colleagues and enjoy myself, and I wish you all a great day. Thank you for listening to me ramble this morning and share my reflections. Take care, friends.